Hey guys, Vaul here again. As most of you know, the TSL qualifying stage has actually just been finished. It finished yesterday, so I have a period of time where I won't actually be doing TSL commentaries. In fact, this game you're watching is my very first-person audio commentary. We're actually watching a game that's played by myself, and as you can see, it's in the first person, not the third person. I usually do commentaries in the third person. This is the first person. This is me playing here. My opponent is somebody on Iccup. That stands for International Cyber Cup. It's the Russian server that a lot of people play on, as you know. If you haven't heard of the ICC, the International Cyber Cup, just Google it or check up their website. It's a really good way of just getting involved in a competitive StarCraft community. I'm not going to mention the name of my opponent because I don't really know him, and I haven't obviously got his permission to use obviously a game that I played with him. So I'm just going to mention that it's me, Vaul, against an ICC Cup user. I'm playing Terran in this game, as I always do. Very rarely play off-race. And I've spawned on the top left corner as the green Terran. This map is called Collosseum, and it's actually one of the new proleague maps that they're using over in the Kesper affiliated tournaments. And I really like this map. It's actually great because, as you can see here, I'm about to wall off my base. Sorry about the quality of the video in first person. Recording with gun cam, and I haven't quite mastered how to get everything looking right with the settings. But one of my, I'm actually quite a defensive player when it comes to StarCraft, and I am walling off my base as I quite often do. Sometimes I don't, but most of the time I do. I just like doing it. It makes me feel a bit safer. I get rushed a lot by people, especially cheesing people in D level and ICC. I'm about a D plus, maybe possibly C minus level player at the moment. So not the best, and my opponent is roughly my level. As you can see, just putting a barracks down there to complete the wall in, and that'll allow me to fast expand pretty quickly. And what I love about this map is that it's, first of all, it's on the desert tile set, so it looks nice, and I'm really sick of playing games on jungle tile set. And secondly, oh, by the way, if I didn't mention, my opponent is actually random for this game, so I don't actually know at this point whether he's Zerg or Terran or Protoss, and I've just scouted his base now, see the creep, realise that he's Zerg, and actually cancel that refinery. So not a good idea to cancel anything at this early stage of the game. You definitely put yourself behind a little bit, you lose a little bit of minerals by doing that, but I just felt that I'd prefer to go for a 2 barracks build instead of a barracks and refinery against Zerg. And oh my god, there I go again. Actually, this is probably a good commentary of what not to do. Although my opponent's Zerg started as a random, I've just changed my mind a couple of times already. I've cancelled the refinery, and then I cancelled the Sicker Barracks. When I saw that he wasn't going for a quick spawning pool, I cancelled the Sicker Barracks and went for a command center straight away, because that natural base is nice and protected. But definitely don't recommend anybody building a barracks and then cancelling at this point. That was a mistake as far as I was concerned. I just really didn't want to carry on with it, the double barracks build. I really thought that going for fast expansion would have been more appropriate in this map. And still got the SCV in its base, just looking around, trying to keep it alive for a bit, trying to keep my micromanagement up properly. This player, I don't know how good he is at this point. I haven't played him before. I've got my expansion going down, really expecting Mutalisks from him, as I expect from most Zerg players. It's only the Zerg players that I've played before, and I know have a preference for Hydralisks and Lurkers, that I really start to worry about Lurker defense. By default, I pretty much expect my opponent, my Zerg opponent, to go Mutalisks these days, just because it's more popular with the pros. And yeah, good players generally get more leverage out of Mutalisks. And now what I've decided to do, now that I've got the expansion up, is to follow it with 2 more barracks, just because, again, I figured he'd be going for Mutalisks, so I want to get a lot of Marines up, and really just make sure I would be able to hold off the Mutalisk harass quickly enough, and then go out and attack his expansion as soon as possible. You pretty much expect a Zerg player to go out and get an expansion all the way across the map, so it's hard for you to take it down as soon as possible. And yeah, just trying to keep the SCV production up, getting some more gas, getting some gas finally. I think I left this a little bit too late, getting the gas and Academy at the same time there. Yep, just keeping the SCV production going. I like to use the F2 to 4 keys in such a way that I've got my F2 key above my main base and F3 above my natural expansion and F4 above the production buildings. Some players do it differently, and there he's come now with a bunch of zerglings, but my wall in has made me completely safe from that, so that's good news for me. Now building a lot of Marines, and as soon as that scanner's ready, I'll need to take a look at his base just to see what he's got. Putting down an engineering bay, just basically in anticipation of Mutalisks. I'm going to need the towers. Got some gas going finally, and of course, if he is going lurkers after all, we'll find out. Then I put. I'll still need to get missile turrets, especially because a lot of Zerg players these days really like to go for drops in the back of your base with lurkers, and having a turret around really helps against that. Now is the time that I should be getting a commsat station, but for some reason I neglected to do that. Any second now, I'm going to remember to do it. This game, by the way, I'm actually there we go. I'm actually commentating after the game's played, so obviously I already know what happens. Just to let people know about that, it's too difficult to sort of talk and play at the same time if you're actually playing seriously. Just to recommend people, once you get that academy up, I just recommend getting both scanners straight away. In this game, I've just been a bit negligent in getting them straight away, but now there's the second scanner. It's a good idea to get them straight away, because you really need to get those scans off to see what the Zerg player is doing, and also get them ready for expansions. And also, if he has gone lurkers, you need to save up some scan sweep energy, because if you don't, then you could find yourself in trouble. Still have, yes, I've really left the scans late, and it's important to actually have scanned by now, because this is the point in the game where you really need to have found out what your opponent's doing, just in terms of tech. And I'm putting down a bunker there just in case he has gone lurkers or built a lot of zerglings, and I've just scanned him now. He's gone for a Hydralisk Den and a evolution chamber, so it looks like he's definitely going to be teching up, and he's going for a macro game, and he is going for lurkers, so I'm not going to need to build any more missile turrets. I've already got one there just in case he went Mutalisks a little bit too quickly and I needed to get some up really quick, or went for drops. Just moving some troops out now to his base. Hopefully he hasn't got lurkers yet, and I can sort of just camp around his base before he attacks. And oh my god, he has already got lurkers, so I was actually really lucky there. If he had actually moved his lurkers out sort of a little bit earlier, I probably would have lost my whole army, so that was very careless. One trick that I like to do is just send one Marine ahead of my army, just like a whole screen ahead, and just see if it dies. And that's a cheap way of just telling whether he's got lurkers or not, rather than just sending a whole force out and just running into a group of them and getting slaughtered. So not really the best play by me in a couple of cases here. I'm just putting down another turret because I'm just worried at this point that he's bringing, because he hasn't actually sent out his lurkers, he's taken ages to get his lurkers. That says to me that he might actually be investing in drop technology for his overlords, and it makes me a bit paranoid as to that, because I've got no troops back at home. If he was to drop a couple of lurkers in now, it would be real trouble for me. So just keeping the Marines in a position a fair way away from stroke, so I can see his lurkers coming in plenty of time. It's really a point in the game where you've got to keep your macro management up and keep building SCVs and barracks and so forth, as well as keeping your eye on the minimap, just to make sure that those lurkers aren't going to rush out and camp themselves beside you and die. And while I've got I've got a small window of opportunity while I'm in control of the map, and I'm using that to send out an SCV and scout for his base, because this is the point in the game where Zerg players inevitably get another hatchery somewhere, and it's usually going to be in this, because it's not cross map. The Zerg player will want to go for the expansion down the bottom right because it's furthest away from my base, and he'll be able to defend it the most easily. Just noticed some Zerglings there just waiting for me to attack, so just going and harassing those. My SCV hasn't actually found a hatchery yet, so it's just building building a missile turret just because I expect them to show up there and build a hatchery. So I want to know when it's building as soon as possible. That way I can move up my troops and take it out, because the longer you delay that third base, third mineral patch and third gas for the Zerg player, the better chance you have, really. It's just standard Zerg versus Zerg stuff, Terran versus Zerg stuff. I built a single Wraith, and that's something I really like to do against Zerg players and this is hatchery now, so I'll need to actually take that out. I built a single Wraith because he's not got Mutalisks and the Wraith can stay alive, and the Wraith is really good for scouting and picking off Overlords because he's got no Hydralisks, really, because they're all morphing into Lurkers. And what I did there is I've actually got a third group of Marines which I've sent towards his expansion because it's unprotected, meanwhile keeping my two groups of Marines and Medics at his contained, because I want to stop those Lurkers